Welcome to shelf number 4. Yep. So, just to show you my display here, just temporarily, this is the Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition, the widescreen limited collector's edition set. This is the '97 Special Edition. I shown this off in one of my videos before, but this is what it looks like. Then we have the VHS for just a second. Godzilla 1985, which is for Return of Godzilla. Ghostbusters, The Bela Lugosi Dracula, The Wizard of Oz, which was autographed by a couple of the Munchkins, and I met a couple of them at a screening of the film. And It's a Wonderful Life, which was signed by Caroline Grimes, who plays Zuzu in the film. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Sweet. Alright, so that's a little display here. This Godzilla I got at Wizard World. It was part of a Destroy All Monsters set, but I'm not entirely sure. And these, I think that was Spider-Man Homecoming. It was like a little display piece, I believe. And I think that's Warhammer. Alright, so let's get started. So first up, we have Freshwater. Again, this is another movie involving like killer crocodile alligators, and this one I found at a dollar store, and I was like, yes, please. Still haven't watched that yet. Next we have Friday Night Lights. This is a average football movie. It was alright. Not a fan of the cinematography, but I mean, Billy Bob Thornton is okay, but I don't know. I thought it was just fine. Not great. I don't recommend it. Fried Green Tomatoes. This was very similar to... It's like a combination of Places in My Heart and... I'm blanking on what that one movie was called. Kathy Bates, Jessica Tandy. Interesting movie, I would say. Anniversary. This really was remastered edition. Pretty fine movie, I should say. I'm not too crazy on it, but I think it was kind of good otherwise. Frogs. Oh, ooh, yes, Frogs. This is... Okay, I have talked to, like, a couple people who have heard of this movie, and only one of them have actually seen it. This is, like, when nature runs amok, and actually, this movie came out before Jaws. And it is cheesy as hell. I remember seeing this many years ago. Yeah, Ray Milland was like doing these movies. I don't know why. He was doing films like The Fame of Two Heads. It was like, I don't know. I don't know why he was doing that, but whatever. From Dusk Till Dawn. Oh, if you never heard of this. Okay. So, Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney play two brothers who they basically rob people and hold them hostage and stuff. Anyway, so they kidnap this family, who the father is played by Harvey Keitel, and the daughter is played by Juliette Lewis, and they go to Mexico because they believe that they will be safe there, and they go to this bar, and yeah, I don't want to give anything away. If you never heard of this movie, I suggest you check this out. You'll be kind of surprised. When you get to that one moment, you'll realize why it's under horror. From Hell. This is, You know what? I tried watching this, and I just couldn't get through it. I don't know why. I mean, I do want to give it another go, but it's this thriller with Johnny Depp. I mean, I don't know. This is like a Director's Women Edition. Why is this not on Blu-ray? Yeah, I tried watching it. I just couldn't get through it. Not saying it's bad. I just couldn't get through it. Maybe one of these days I'll give it another shot. From Here to Eternity, Best Picture winner of 1953. And guess what? I still haven't seen this. I'm so sorry. This, I heard, is like a classic. It's great cast, great director, Fred Zimmerman. I just haven't gotten around to this yet. Sorry. See, like I said, it's a theme here. Frost Nixon. About the interview between David Frost and disgraced President Richard Nixon after the whole Watergate scandal. This is a good movie. I think in terms of accuracy, it's alright. It could have been better, but overall, I think you get the general gist of it right. Frank Langella, Martin Sheen. Yeah, fine. Oh, here's everyone's favorite Disney movie, Frozen. Although I think now it's something else. But this movie was on everybody's mind. Everybody was like singing the songs, way to go, and everything. I never said that this is a bad movie. It's a good movie. The problem is, it had so much bloody airplay. I mean, parents drove themselves crazy because they were like, if I hear "Let It Go" one more time, I'm gonna throw it out the window. But yeah, I mean, Frozen's a good movie, except for the twist villain. The twist villain was absolutely pathetic. And yeah, it was a fine movie. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think it was pretty good. Frozen 2, on the other hand, is where I have all the issues. Because Frozen 2 had like one of the. Frozen 2 was pretty terrible. Except for that one song, Show Yourself. Other than that. The Fugitive, which was based on the 70s TV show with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. I think Tommy Lee Jones won Best Supporting Actor for a movie. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I remember thinking, oh yeah, this was actually kind of okay. So I need to watch that again. U.S. Marshals is basically the semi-sequel to this movie, which I've never heard of or seen. Here's one I love. Full Metal Jacket, by my favorite director, Stanley Kubrick. This is a movie that looks at the dehumanizing effects of war from not just in Vietnam, but also in boot camp, which was something that hadn't been done before, and the fact that it was done so realistically and honestly, it's incredible. Vincent D'Onofrio, R. Lee Ermey is the general, and Matthew Modine. This is a great film that shows the side effects of boot camp and war. And yeah, Platoon was great, but Full Metal Jacket at least showed what boot camp was really like. And it's brilliant. I could go on forever about that movie, but we got a lot to talk about, so I gotta keep moving. Before Monty. You know what? I don't remember this one. Is this the one where the guys are... Oh, I think I think I've seen this before. Yeah, I've seen this before. Yeah, it was alright. Fun and Fancy Free. This was the final Disney film to have Walt Disney voice Mickey Mouse, and this was one of those like package films, so kind of like Fantasia and Melody Time, and they were kind of stuck doing these movies. This one's about Jack and the Beanstalk, and I think there's something about a bear or something. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that. Alright, Elvis, Fun in Acapulco, 1963, one of his better movies. Yeah, he kept saying, but these were nothing but travelogues, but some were actually pretty decent, and this is one of them. Yeah, I've listened to the soundtrack many, many times, and I do enjoy this film to an extent. Ursula Andress is in here, so yeah. Bond girl in an Elvis movie gets an extra point. Yeah, it's fine. It's not a big a deal. Think Pink. If you know that line, then you know Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. And Bad Wine was said by Kate Thompson. And yes, this is a pretty good movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it was pretty good with a pretty good ending. Really nice cinematography in that one, too. Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand. This was about Fanny Bryce. And actually, the interesting history. This movie had a sequel, Funny Waiting. I've seen it, and it's not that good. But the first one was pretty decent. Also with Omar Sharif from Dr. Zhivago. It's actually kind of decent, actually. Oh, this one, The Gallows. This movie, actually, you can't even see that real well. This movie creeped me out when I first saw it. I did a whole video on this. And, I don't know if you can... Yeah, this movie creeped... I don't know if you can see the cover there. Over here, I'm not sure you can see that. Really got to me, and I highly recommend this one. I know some people don't like found footage movies, but I gotta say, that is definitely one of the better ones. And yes, I finally did get around to watching Blair Witch Project. It was okay. I didn't think it was, like, as groundbreaking as everybody made it out to be, but I'm gonna pick it up. It's like Cinemas High School, or it's like they're trying to put on this play, but it's like cursed or something. And this is creepy, very creepy atmosphere. Well, not atmospheric, but I don't even think it's that gory. Actually, I don't think so. But it was just terrifying. Anyway, Gamera. Gamera was basically Godzilla's other cousin in terms of kaiju monster movies. I've never seen a single one. This set was put on by Mill Creek, but I am planning on getting the Showa and Heisei era box sets put out by Arrow. And this set has all but the last one, which is Gamera the Brave. I just never seen a Gamera movie. Although I know who he is. He's basically a flying turtle that like has like rocket feet or something. Gandhi. This is a great film about Mohandas Gandhi, led by a wonderful performance by Ben Kingsley. Best Picture winner 1982. This movie is incredible. The amount of people that's crammed in this movie is brilliant. Not to mention, it's, for the most part, at least from what I've been able to find out, very accurate. Definitely check out this epic, directed by Richard Attenborough. Garfield for the movie. Okay, you know what? Honestly, this movie really isn't that bad. I really don't. I know Bill Murray distanced himself from it. He did not like making the movie, but that said, I think the movie's okay. I mean, it's not great, that's for sure. But I grew up with this. I grew up with this movie. I grew up with this Garfield movie. I also saw Tale of Two Cities. Not Tale of Two Cities. Tale of Two Kitties, which is the sequel. And honestly, I thought it was... You know what? I don't even remember. Here's a good one. Gangs of New York. This is a great Martin Scorsese movie dealing with the origins of the streets of New York and kind of like the gangs who, the whole thing with like the fighting in the streets and whatever. It's been a while since I've seen this one. Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, Cameron Diaz. Who else is in here? Brendan Gleeson, John C. Reilly, Jim Broadbent. Yeah, this movie, I remember this was pretty good. Oh yeah, this is dealing with like the gangs in New York during the time of the melting pot. Here's one I like that I don't know how many people do like. The General's Daughter. The General's Daughter deals with John Travolta as a soldier who is investigating the rape and murder of this female officer in this military compound. And interesting detective story. This woman is kind of an interesting movie. Not great, but I think it's a pretty good mystery film for sure. So check that out. Actually, wait, does it have that? It's got that guy in. Oh yeah, but the dude from Babe. Yeah, he's good and bad. Although I liked him better in L.A. Confidential though. Get Carter. Okay, I'm gonna tell it to you straight. I absolutely do not like revenge stories. I've mentioned this on my gaming channel, but I might as well mention it here. A revenge story is a film in which somebody gets revenge for the death of their brother, sister, girlfriend, wife, parents, or something that was done to themselves, and like gain, leaving them for dead or something, or disfiguring them or something like that. So they get revenge. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of those stories because they always start the same and end the same. This is one of the better ones with Michael Caine. This is one of the better ones. I did like the first Kill Bill, if you want to know. I think I talked about that before. There is a remake with Sylvester Stallone. Don't watch it. Just don't. Get Hard. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just okay. Get Out. This movie is incredible. Love this movie. This movie is a horror movie, but there is one advantage that this movie has. It's that it's not only brilliantly written, but it also has social commentary dealing with racism. Yeah, this movie is absolutely brilliant. I cannot recommend this enough. Get Shorty. Here's a good John Travolta movie. This movie's sort of like a satire of the mafia and the film industry in a way, but not too much so. Gene Hackman, Rene Russo, and Danny DeVito. Great cast, good direction by Barry Sonnenfeld? Barry Sonnenfeld? Yeah, Barry Sonnenfeld. And it's also decently funny. Now, there was a sequel called Be Cool, but I never saw it. Get Smart, the movie. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the show, but the movie. I think I believe I saw the movie first before I saw the show. So that in and of itself, I think. But yeah, Steve Carell, Anne Hathaway, Alan Arkin. I think Alan Arkin is the head of the organization that he works for. I think. Oh, Control. Yeah, Control. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Now that I've seen the show, I do remember the movie. I mean, it was fine. It was just fine. But again, it's been a while since I've seen it. Gentleman's Agreement, Best Picture winner 1947 with Gregory Peck and John Garfield, Dorothy McGuire. I actually haven't seen this one yet either. I haven't seen it. I've been meaning around to it. But this is, from what I understand, this is one of the first movies to deal with race relations. Or at least one of the first movies to tackle racial issues. I mean, not just Gone with the Wind, but also this one. Yeah, this is... I've been meaning to watch this, I swear. I've been meaning to... Oh, this doesn't just deal with racial prejudice, but also deals with religious tolerance. So, people who have a different faith than you. So it deals with that as well. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, Godzilla. Yes, this is one of the best ones. This is one of the best Godzilla movies out there. The one that introduced us to Ghidorah, the three-headed, like serpent dragon thing. This is great. This is great stuff. Love this movie. Actually, it's interesting. This is a better Godzilla Showa era film than Godzilla Returns. Ghost. Yes, I remember watching this when I was younger. I remember watching this, and actually, this is one of the first romance films I've seen. One of the first ones when I was younger. Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, this is a interesting movie. Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen this. Been a while. But like, yeah, he gets killed and then he's trying to communicate from the other side, and interesting film. But I haven't seen it in a while though. Ghost and Mrs. Muir. Oh, this is an interesting one. If you've never seen this, okay. So Gene Tierney moves into this like White House where it's occupied by the spirit of the, I believe it was a captain. They communicate with one another up to a certain point, and so it's sort of a romance blooms between the two of them. It's worth it. Ghost Ship. Okay. Alright, there was a guy on YouTube, his name is Armake21, and he actually introduced me to this movie. And yes, I'm perfectly aware of it. This is basically just another version of Death Ship, which came out in 1980. He brought up a fact, he's not with us anymore, but basically he mentioned that if you want to enjoy this movie, stop the movie at the last 3 minutes. I believe it's like 3 to 4 minutes. You know when it happens. Stop that movie because there's like this twist that they pull at the end of the movie. It kind of ruins whatever it was trying to accomplish. I mean, I liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was fine. But again, it's one of those things. I've never seen the twist. Maybe it won't ruin it for me, but Ghost Story. I had to pick this up because this looks so ridiculous. All right, check this out. A cast of many well-known faces that have all had wonderful careers. Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., John Houseman, and Patricia Neal. They're working with a story about a group of people who like tell ghost stories, and then one of them ends up becoming real. And it's all thanks to something that happened in their lives that they wanted to forget about. I don't want to give anything away, but if you want to see a ridiculous concept that actually isn't that bad. I mean, it's not a good movie, but I just had to pick that up, and I'm wondering when Shout Factory's gonna release it. Ghost World. Criterion put this out, and I bought this. It's okay. It's an okay movie. It's fine. I mean, it's not great. Four Birds and Scarlett Johansson. I mean, it's all right. It's not great. I think you might like it better than me, but yeah, I just didn't see. I didn't feel like going out and buying like a $30 Criterion edition. I just didn't feel like it. All right. Next, we have something awesome. Ghostbusters. Everybody has a copy of Ghostbusters in my collection. Actually, mine was signed by Ernie Hudson, who plays Winston in the films. Mark, keep on busting. When I met him, we were all asking him, like, when is Ghostbusters 3 gonna happen? And he said, no, there's not gonna be a Ghostbusters 3. And I asked him, like, if he would, like, appear in, like, a cameo in, like, a Ghostbusters spinoff or something, and he was like, I don't know, I guess he didn't understand the question, so he gave some stupid response about not being sued, but I don't know, I was really nervous that day, but as I am with meeting anyone. Yeah, Ghostbusters is a classic. It's a movie that's childish, yet adult, funny, yet relatable. It had the right balance and the right ingredients. It was a one-of-a-kind movie. And yes, actually, Ghostbusters 3 did happen in the form of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Was I will pick that up. Ghostbusters 2, I don't remember that, to be honest. The Ghoul, I've had this as my question for a while. I don't know what it is. But it looks interesting with Boris Karloff. I just haven't had time to watch that. G.I. Blues, Elvis from 1960. This is after he got out of the army. Yeah, I mean, this movie was made to capitalize on his success in the army, but other than that, yeah, it's alright. It's a decent movie. I mean, Julia Prowse evens things up a little bit, but it was fine. I've listened to the soundtrack 20 times. Next up, we have a Giant, which I talked about this earlier when I was talking about Shelf 1. Yeah, this is a epic of grand scale by George Stevens. Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson, and James Dean. I wonder if there's like some kind of like a anamorphic release of this, but yeah, basically set on this farm. I believe it's like set on this farm and dealing with racial bigotry, conflict between cattle barons, rich tycoons, family strife, a love triangle. Yeah, it's actually the house that they filmed it on actually still exists. It's still there. It's just, in skeleton form. But yeah, this is a classic. I just need to like actually sit down and watch it all the way through. I've seen like parts of it, but I haven't seen it all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces of this. I just haven't gotten around to it. The Gift with Cate Blanchett. I haven't gotten around to this one ever. So, next we have an underrated one that I like, but this was actually kind of hard to find, but Gin Game. Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore reuniting from the Dick Van Dyke Show. They are in this, like, I think it's like in a nursing home or something, and they play gin together. And over the course of the movie, they develop a relationship with one another. This is a touching movie. This is actually kind of rare now. This is actually kind of hard to find. This was part of the PBS movie line, which I don't think they do anymore, but I'm not kidding when I say this is kind of underrated. If you can find it, then go watch it. Here's one that I grew up with as a kid. Gigi, Best Picture winner 1958. Maurice Chevalier and Wesley Caron. This was before My Fair Lady. A teenage girl who lives in Paris, France, with her mom, and she goes to like school, and then she goes to like this like etiquette school with Hermione Gingold, and she meets this guy at one point, and oh man, it's been so long since looking at this brings back memories. But I do remember this movie. I do remember loving the music in this. Just great. Girl Interrupted. Oh, this is about... I'm blanking on her name now. Susanna Kessin, yeah, she was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, and she got put in this correctional facility, and this is her story. And yeah, Angelina Jolie, Winona Ryder, who else is in here? Brittany Murphy, Jared Leto, Vanessa Redgrave, Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, I remember this one. The Girl of the Golden West. Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy. They're a well-known singing duo in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of her films were interesting. I do have a couple of her films, actually. I do have a couple of them, but this one, and some of her movies actually have Wizard of Oz connections. This one has Buddy Ebsen, who was the original Tin Man, before he had to drop out due to health reasons. I'm trying to think of this one I saw. It was at the very end of the movie, like, like one of the characters is like playing chess or something, and something happens, and he meets his dead wife in the afterlife. I don't remember what it was, but I saw it in Ohio one time, and I just think like, what movie was that? Girls, Girls, Girls. Elvis, 1962, hitting the beaches of Hawaii again. This is the second in what I like to call the Hawaii trilogy. Blue Hawaii, Girls, 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 and Paradise Hawaiian Style. This, not quite as good as Blue Hawaii, but this is also a well-known one. Stella Stevens is in here. And yeah, I think this was kind of good. I've listened to the soundtrack plenty of times, so I do want to say that, like, that's definitely one of the better Elvis travelogue musicals. I mean, he kept saying that they were travelogues, but I don't think so. Only, like, maybe, like, 3 or 4 of them are. Gladiator. This is another one, but I need to get around to, and I just haven't yet. Best Picture winner 2000 with Russell Crowe, who won Best Actor. And you also have Oliver Reed, Joaquin Phoenix. I just haven't gotten around to this one yet. I know I heard like really good things about this, but just haven't gotten around to it yet. Glory Road. This is about this Texas all-black basketball team. I think they were known as like the Buffalo... Blanking on what their team's name was. Yeah, this is a pretty inspiring movie for sure. But it was pretty good. But it's interesting with Disney, like, making films that are true stories, that are about sports, that involve sports. I just saw The Rookie, and that was great. That was excellent. Glory Road was pretty good, too. Invincible, I thought was good, but I haven't seen it in years. So, yeah, go check out Glory Road. Gods and Monsters. If you know James Whale, who did Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, and The Wolfman, this is the story of what happened after. He was gay in real life, although he had to hide it because the times that this movie deals with closeted homosexuality and also the relationship between him and Brendan Fraser's character, which, yes, Brendan Fraser has done drama before The Whale. And yeah, I want to say when they recreated the well-known scenes from his films, they do a really good job. They definitely pay tribute to James Whale. Although not necessarily the most accurate, it certainly does a good job of honoring his work on the Universal monster movies. Alright, next we have my Godzilla collection. These are all the ones that are filed under G for Godzilla. I am planning on putting all of the kaiju films together at some point, but it'll probably be after I do all of this. So anyway, here is one of my favorites, possibly one of my favorite films of all time, Gojira, the original Godzilla masterpiece. This was Japanese answer to the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945, released almost 10 years to the day, and a monster created from nuclear radiation. And yeah, this is an amazing... This is the one that started it all, and the only one... If you're new to Godzilla, start here. Start here. I mean, I may have started with the 2014 Godzilla, but please start here. This Toho DVD also has the American version, Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters, with Raymond Burr, which is also brilliant. But check out the Japanese original, if you can. Godzilla 1984, also known as The Return of Godzilla. This is the only direct sequel to the original. This is the only direct sequel. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But I'm kind of glad that it got released at all, because there was kind of like a time when this was sort of in legal loophole hell for a while. For the Japanese version, they got the rights figured out. But not for the American version. Godzilla 1985. So, this is the American version. This reunites Raymond Burr with his trademark, his role as Mr. Martin in the original film. But the reason why this does not have a DVD release or even a Blu-ray release is because the music, some of the music that was in this movie, came from a completely different movie called DEF CON 4. They're trying to get the rights figured out. I don't exactly know how we haven't had a digitally restored version of this edition. I don't know how, but I'm glad that I found it. I'm glad that I found it. And it sits comfortably next to Godzilla himself. Alright, so let's get moving. The Roland Emmerich Godzilla, or Godzilla fans call it Godzilla 98. And yes, I'm perfectly well aware of it. This is not a Godzilla movie. Just look at that. That looks nothing like Godzilla. Absolutely nothing. And yes, I'm perfectly aware of it, but I have it for it because it's part of a collection and all that. And I've seen parts of this, and from what I saw, they didn't look bad, but again, I haven't seen it all the way through. So, yeah. But I know its legacy. I know all about it. And then we have a 2014 Godzilla, which I did a whole review on when it first came out. And yeah, this is the first film of the new Legendary Pictures Monsterverse, which is doing surprisingly well. That's because they space those movies out. They take their time with them. This has Bryan Cranston, and this was directed by Gareth Edwards, who you may know him for directing Rogue One. Man, it's been a long time since I've seen this. But I remember that they didn't show much of Godzilla, but again, they wanted to focus on like the human characters, and Godzilla was never about the human characters. It was about the monsters. That's why the human characters were never written right, so that was the reason. I do have a 2014 Godzilla poster right there. So that's really cool. Actually, I have another one right here. So yeah, I have another Godzilla poster right here. So yeah, so yeah, the 2014 Godzilla definitely had an impact on me for sure. I became a Godzilla fan after that, so anyway, Godzilla 2000. Look at that. It's a work of art right there. This movie, I believe this is the one where he's like fighting this UFO or something. Yeah, it's like a UFO. I don't remember what the monster was, but I'm not going to talk about all of these. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Godzilla Final Wars, which this is great. This one's great because this is the final brawl of the last film in the Heisei era. And this has everybody: Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla's son, Amanda, Anguirus, and even the Roland Emmerich Godzilla, who was renamed Zilla. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. Yes, that is the full title, and that's how you say it. Godzilla on Monster Island, also known as Godzilla vs. Gigan. This one's terrible. But the Godzilla vs. Gigan scenes are great. It's like, this is the one where somebody's trying to build a Godzilla theme park, and of course that's not going to work. Godzilla raids again. This is the first one, the first sequel, and this is the first appearance of any Godzilla foe, Anguirus. And in the United States, we called it Gigantus the Fire Monster, which is utterly stupid. Why did we call it that? Godzilla vs. Biollante. Actually, this movie, this probably won't get upgraded because it's gone up in price since I last checked. But this is the one where someone decided to combine Godzilla's DNA with a plant. So basically, think of Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors amplified to about 20. And you get Biollante. Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, which is also known as Godzilla vs. Hedorah. An environmentally friendly Godzilla movie. And it's kind of interesting. Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. I'm not talking about all of these, I'm just going to show you them. Godzilla vs. Mothra, which, depending on what home video release you get, it's got a couple names. Godzilla vs. Mothra, Mothra vs. Godzilla, and Godzilla vs. the Thing. And this one's actually one of the best ones because Godzilla is like fighting Mothra, and these two girls are trying to protect Mothra, and they're trying to warn us of our own destruction. So, like, they're trying to warn us, and I think, but yeah, that's a good one. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which is great because this one involves time travel and like this guy who like saves Godzilla and then like oh, that one shot. Okay. And Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. I didn't see that one. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Dezadroya, which was the final film, or at least it was supposed to be the last one. And I think that was. And Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Now this is great because they were trying to write human characters, and it wasn't perfect, but you know what? They always tried. And there's this woman, yeah, her. She was pirating Mechagodzilla when something happened, and she's trying to redeem herself. And yeah, they were trying to make I think they were trying to make like an arc to her character with this one, and I think there was another one. I think it was either that or against Mechagodzilla. I don't know. Gosford Park. This was written by Julian Fellows, who also created Downton Abbey. That was the only problem I have with this movie. It's too similar to Downton Abbey. It's like the whole, you see, like the rich living upstairs and the ones who are working for the rich living downstairs in the like the kitchen and the. It's pretty good. It's kind of a decent murder mystery, but again, it's too similar to Downton Abbey. So if you're familiar with Downton Abbey at all, then you'll enjoy it. Going My Way, Best Picture Oscar winner 1944 with Bing Crosby and Barry Fitzgerald. This is a movie about a priest who goes to this, I think it's like this parish, and the thing is bad, the business is actually falling behind. They're running out of money, and he wants to do things his way, and Barry Fitzgerald is he wants to do things the traditional way, and begin to sort of a little bit of a conflict there, but everybody who's there believe that they can make the church a good one. Interesting movie. It's not really a musical either. Some people think it is, but it isn't. It's a pretty good drama. Actually, it spawned a sequel called The Bells of St. Mary's, which I've never seen. Alright, the Godfather trilogy. I know I haven't posted my review of the third one yet, but I assure you, or maybe by the time you see this I did. I don't know. I do like this trilogy, flaws and all. The first two are considered the best, and the third one's just kind of a mess. But again, it still has the same people involved, so it's not like a total loss. But yeah, this is the Coppola restoration. These are great. This is the best. These are digitally restored, and they look beautiful. Even on DVD, they look good. The Godfather, you have to have a Godfather trilogy in your collection. I mean, you wouldn't have the crime films you have now if it wasn't for The Godfather. The Golden Compass. This is one that I've been itching to watch, but I just never did. I believe this was based on a junior novel, I believe. And this is one I just haven't gotten around to yet. It's been kind of sitting here, so I'm hoping to get around to this movie at some point. But anyway, Nicole Kidman, Daniel Craig, and then I'm blanking on who that girl is who Oh, Sam Elliott is in here. Interesting. Gone in 60 Seconds. No, not that Nicolas Cage crap. This is the original from 1974. It was made by H.P. Howicki. And Howicki, he owned his own repair shop, and he loved filmmaking, so he basically put up his own money to make this movie. And it ended up becoming a box office success. And he ended up making a couple more movies. And he basically just used the cars from his own shop to make this movie. It's a good movie, considering that it was made on a shoestring budget and it was a passion project. So, yeah, this guy is a car crash king. This guy has crashed more cars than anybody, and just amazing. And yes, this movie, I am trying to find like a really good release of that movie, because I don't like non-anamorphic movies. It's horrible. But that's a great movie. Do not watch the Nicolas Cage movie. I know there's some people who are like, Oh, but I'm looking on Gone in 60 Seconds and it says Nicolas Cage. No. Go watch the original. Goldfinger. Everybody has that one Bond movie that they love. This is mine. And also, on top of that, everybody has that one film from each of the eras that they love. Like, it was the best. Like, that one movie was like the best of the eras. This is my pick for the best of the Sean Connery era. This is incredible. And, of course, you cannot forget Chop Top. There's absolutely no way you can forget Chop Top. Honor Blackman's in here as well. Like, the plot's exhilarating, the story's great. Love it. Of course, you cannot have a long collection of movies without Gone with the Wind. This was the first real epic to have ever been made. Best Picture winner, 1939. Clark Gable, Vivian Leigh, Hattie McDaniel, she became the first African American person to win an Oscar, but she wasn't even allowed to be in the same building. And this is a movie that Scarlett O'Hara became one of the original heroines, one of the original symbols of empowerment, triumph over adversity. And if you've seen this movie, then you know what I mean. This movie has had a profound impact on me, and just the themes and the plot, the score. It's just incredible. And the direction by Victor Fleming is incredible. The fact that he was doing that and Wizard of Oz in the same year, that's incredible. This is one of the greatest films ever made. And it's not just me. Many other people think so as well. Good morning, Vietnam! Robin Williams. This was the movie that made him a household name. This is the movie that really took his career to the stratosphere, with a funny but also sometimes dramatic film about this radio DJ. And yes, Robin Williams is incredible. One of his best movies by far. Good Night and Good Luck. Edward R. Murrow. You know what? It's been a while since I've seen this. I don't remember that well, but I remember it's about Edward R. Murrow, who was a well-known TV journalist for, I think, CBS, I believe. Or maybe it was NBC. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen that. Another one of Robin Williams' best movies. This time he won the Oscar. Good Will Hunting. This is a film that is incredible. I don't think I really need to say anything, but this is a movie that really hammers on the heartstrings, but it has amazing acting, good writing, and also really good themes. It also has this bond between this guy who Matt Damon, who he's like a brilliant mathematician, but like he's dealing with depression and he gets in trouble too much, and the bond he has over his therapist, played by Robin Williams, it's incredible. But Goodbye Girl. I don't know much of Neil Simon's work, but I do know that he wrote a lot of stuff, and this is probably my favorite story of his. Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason. Yeah, I really enjoyed this not lighthearted, but like heartfelt kind of romantic comedy, in a sense. And yeah, it's funny, Richard Dreyfuss, when I met Richard Dreyfuss, he told a story about how he was nominated for this movie, and his agent was like, you're up against these guys. Laurence Olivier was nominated, and he's like, I'm gonna win. And then he won. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. This is the musical version of the 1939 Roger Donat story, with Peter O'Toole, who has said before but he couldn't sing, and yet here he is again in the musical, and Petula Clark. The chemistry between them is good, but I kind of prefer the Robert Donat version, but that's just me. Goodfellas. This is one of Martin Scorsese's best films. By far, I think if there was anything that Scorsese had learned from making this movie, it's how he can make not only an effective crime movie, but also a great true crime movie. And yes, this movie is absolutely amazing Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci. He won Best Supporting Actor for this movie. And yes, this movie is easily considered one of the best crime films or one of the best mob movies of all time. And after this, Scorsese would direct Casino and The Departed. Up next, we have this Gary Cooper box set. So Gary Cooper is considered one of the reigning kings of like cool, sophisticated American hero, and sort of a silent one too. And I actually got this for Beau Geste in which came out in 1939. Yeah, 1939. Beau Geste. Haven't seen the other ones, but when Beau Geste came out, it was a story that basically glorified the British Empire. Turner Classic Movie said bad, not me. Green Book, Best Picture winner of 2018. This is a great film about the true story of Dr. John Shuri. He's a pianist who he hires this guy who runs a bar to drive him around and have him stay at these places based on this book, which was known as the Green Book, which this was during the Jim Crow era, in which anyone who was black had to stay in all black hotels, and they could never stay in any white hotels at all. This was during they were traveling down the 1962 Mason-Dixon line. They were driving around a segregated South, and it shows their relationship over the course of the film. Really great story. Love the chemistry between Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, and this is just a really great film. Here's a classic you all know, The Goonies. Oh man, I haven't seen this in a long time, but I remember this was great. It's basically like a treasure hunting movie for families, and it's very memorable. There's a lot of well-known. Ah man, it's been a while. I think directed by Richard Donner. This one, yeah, they're trying to like investigate this like pirate ship, and there are these criminals who are after it at the same time as them. But very memorable movie. Gothika. Not good. Not a good movie. Basically a haunted mental institution or something. Yeah, this one's not very good. Halle Berry, Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's not great. And then it like throws this twist at the end. Like, it's just dumb. It's okay. Okay, we have one of my favorites, The Graduate. This is a really excellent film directed by Mike Nichols, and I believe it's got a Criterion release also, so I'm so happy that happened. This is a really excellent film that deals with a college graduate who doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, but then Annette Bening lures him into a romantic relationship with her, but he ends up falling in love with her daughter. And this is a really deep film. It's a very deep film that has excellent music by Simon and Garfunkel, and actually this DVD comes with a soundtrack. So an excellent, meaningful film that was one of the movies that kind of changed how films were told, or at least one of them. Oh yes, Wes Anderson, The Grand Budapest Hotel. I absolutely love this movie. I mean, Wes Anderson is known for these luscious, colorful movies with interesting plots and a huge ensemble cast. This one has Ralph Fiennes, F. Murray Abraham, Adrian Brody, Jude Law, Owen Wilson, Tom Wilkinson, Tilda Swinton. Oh God, who else? Man, there's so many people in this, but this movie's great because it's a caper movie, it's a comedy, it's a drama, it's like a mystery film. It's all the story elements in one, and it's beautiful. I was not a fan of Moonrise Kingdom, but I love Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs, and Royal Tenenbaums. So if anybody wants to know what my favorite Wes Anderson movies are, and actually he just came out with another one this week as I'm recording it, called Asteroid City. Grand Canyon. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've tried watching this. Okay, this is my mom's favorite film. And I've seen this movie 5 times. And I just am not the biggest fan of it. I'm not saying it's bad. I just think it's a little overrated to me. Like there's no such thing as accidents. There's no such thing as accidents, and that's a good lesson. Except the problem is that the plausibility in this movie is a little slim, and also the movie doesn't really explain what Grand Canyon really means. Like, oh yeah, all the characters go to the Grand Canyon at the end of the movie, but what does it mean exactly? What does it mean? It's one of those, like, you know, ensemble pieces like Crash and Traffic, and where it's like all these movies have like different meanings and such. I mean, it's fine. I've seen it like 5 times. I don't know. Maybe one day it'll grow on me, but I've seen it 5 times, but I haven't warmed up to it as of yet. But I love this. Grand Hotel. Best Picture winner in 1932. This is a film that's set in a hotel, and what's great about a hotel setting is that there's always something happening. People coming, people going, and you don't exactly know what their story is or what exactly what they're doing there, but they have a reason why they're there. So we have Greta Garbo as a ballet dancer who's, very depressed. Joan Crawford as a secretary to, I think, Wallace Berry, who's a tycoon. John Barrymore, he falls in love with Greta Garbo, who he's like a thief or something. And Lionel Barrymore, he claims he's sick, but we don't really know if he is or not. And just the interesting setting, the dynamic between all these characters, it's just great. Grand Hotel. People come, people go, but nothing ever happens. Gravity. Alfonso Cuarón. I need to get Roma, because Roma was good too. Alfonso Cuarón, yeah, this is a great film that reminded me a lot of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but this is a really fantastic film. It's just 2 people, well, mostly 1, just drifting through space, and yeah, it's suspenseful, it's engaging, it's intense, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's really well done. Oh, here's one of my favorites, Grease. This is one of the best film musicals of all time. John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, who sadly left us this year. And yeah, this is one of my favorite musicals. Easily, actually, this is a really excellent film. Like, if you like American Graffiti, you'll like this. And one of the best stage-to-film translations of all time. The Great Debaters. Oh, I haven't seen this in a long time. I saw it in theaters, though, but I don't remember what it was about. Actually, this is a Borders exclusive. There's this random disc in here, and I don't even know what's on it. The Great Escape, one of the finest World War II, one of the finest war films ever made. This is a fantastic movie. It's loosely based on an actual escape that took place on Stolf's 17, I think that's what the prison name is. I could be wrong though, but I have a friend of mine who's a real war historian, so I could tell you. This is a fantastic film with a great cast that includes Steve McQueen, James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Donald Pleasence, James Coburn, Charles Bronson. Even though it's not 100% accurate to the actual escape that took place, it's still a well-crafted war film, and I believe that got a Criterion release as well. The Gray Mouse Detective. This is kind of an obscure Disney movie that was essentially their answer to Sherlock Holmes. So this is like their own Sherlock Holmes. I mean, you have Vincent Price as the villain, and I wonder if there's a Blu-ray of that one. The Great Gatsby. I talked about this before in my Elvis video, but I kind of made fun of it. Yeah, the only good adaptation of Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it's not even... It's got all this modern music and stuff. It's just bizarre. Leonardo DiCaprio... Is that Carey Mulligan? Yeah, Carey Mulligan. Yeah, I made fun of it before. The Great Outdoors. This is an underrated one. Dan Aykroyd and John Candy, I can't find a better release of this. Really, I can't. They are two fathers who camp out in the same resort in the middle of the woods, and they're trying to be good dads. They mean well, but they're awkward, and they mean well, but that's fine. But Great Muppet Caper. Oh, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. This is the movie that the Muppet movie was trying to be. It was trying to be a comedy. It was trying to break the fourth wall. It was trying to be a musical. It was trying to be romantic. It was trying to be this. It was trying to be all these things, and this movie did it so much better than the Muppet movie to me. I've seen like one or two of the other ones, but don't get me wrong, the Muppet movie is great. The Muppet movie's great, but this movie just did the Muppet movie just a little bit better. Here's one of my favorites, The Great Race. This is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, they who compete in this race from New York to Paris. And Natalie Wood tags along with them, and this is during the suffragette movement where women were trying to gain the right to vote. And yes, this is a fantastic, fantastic comedy directed by Blake Edwards. This is just hilarious. This is just funny. It's quotable. It's entertaining. I recommend it any day. Here's another one I haven't gotten around to yet. The Great Sickfield. Best Picture winner in 1936. This is about the Great Sickfield Follies, which was lasted from the late 1800s up to like the 1900s, or at least I think it is. Warren Powell, Marina Loy, and Louise Rayner, who won Best Supporting Actress. Yeah, this was one of the well-known MGM musicals, but I've heard of this before, for sure. I just need to get around to watching that. Alright, next up we have The Greatest Show on Earth. Another Best Picture winner, this time 1952. And I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I mean, I do respect it a little bit more now because this was the movie that inspired Steven Spielberg to make his own movies and such. If you've ever seen The Fabelmans, you know what I'm talking about. I understand that, but I don't know. This one just hasn't grown on me. It's basically just a love triangle set at the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus. And I'm sure if this was a passion project for Cecil B. DeMille, but it just isn't one for me. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, I respect it a little bit more now, but I don't know. I just was a little bored by it, to be honest. And again, I was a little bored by it. And again, it's not a bad movie. It just isn't for me. Now, here's something. The Greatest Story Ever Told. This is another film depicting the story of Jesus. This was directed by George Stevens, who, again, created Giant, but this has a huge all-star cast. You have Max von Sydow as Jesus, and the list of people in here are just endless. Charlton Heston, who was also in a biblical film, Ben-Hur. Carol Baker. Who else is in here? Sal Mineo, Donald Pleasance, Sidney Poitier, Roddy McDowall, Dorothy McClure, Andrew Lansbury, Martin Landau, Jose Ferrer, Claude Rains, Telly Savalas, Baduke. Oh man, just the epic scale of this one is just incredible. Definitely a worthwhile film to check out. And yeah, it's not perfect, but yes, I do watch Christian movies sometimes. I don't see anything wrong with them at all. There's a new one that just came out recently called Sound of Freedom, which I'm definitely interested in. So yeah, I still watch Christian movies sometimes. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think it's sometimes you have to, as a film buff, you have to look at other types of film. You can't just look at just the mainstream ones. You got to look at other types of films. But whether they're good or not will depend. The Grapes of Wrath. I know this in theory. This was based on a John Steinbeck novel. And I remember in high school we read one John Steinbeck novel of Mice and Men, which we'll get to later. But I never read this one, and I've never seen this movie. It has Henry Fonda and directed by John Ford. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing this one. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Sorry about that. Alright, so coming up next, we have Green Lantern. You know, if you're gonna make a suit, don't make it green. I actually still haven't watched this yet, which is kind of surprising. I mean, with Green, I've heard stories about how botched this movie was. I mean, I am gonna watch it. I mean, it's with Green Lantern. I mean, come on, it can't be that bad, right? But Green Mile, everybody knows this movie. I don't think I need to really explain this one. And if you don't know this one, very this is a very heavy drama with Tom Hanks and Michael Clark Duncan. This is a really good film dealing with the relationship between this warden officer played by Tom Hanks and this prisoner with spiritual gifts played by Michael Clark Duncan. And yeah, it's really I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say it's a very heavy drama. It works beautifully. It's a really great film. This is a movie that you might want to I know this isn't for everybody, but yeah, this is at times almost sad, you know? Easily one of Stephen King's best films. Yeah, believe it or not, this and Shawshank Redemption were Stephen King stories, and actually both of them took place in prisons. Gremlins. Oh, I haven't seen this in a long time. Okay, this movie I hadn't seen in a long time. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I haven't seen this in a long time, but like this, you know, young man adopts this thing called a gizmo, and and then there were rules, which is don't feed it after midnight, don't put it in direct sunlight, and don't give it water. And there was a sequel to that, and this was a Steven Spielberg, Joe Dante co-production, and they made a sequel of A New Batch, and actually, just as I'm recording this, which is June of 2023, HBO Max, now known as Max, just put out a TV show spinoff, so I might actually watch that. The Grey. Oh yes. Liam Neeson and a group of, I think they were like cargo delivery men. They got stuck in this, they survived a plane crash, and now they're just stuck in the Alaskan wilderness, surrounded by rogue wolves. And this is a really solid film. The nuances in this movie are almost hidden, but they're really well done. So, thank you, Dishonored Wolf, for introducing me to that film. Alright, next we have Groundhog Day. I'll be honest, I still have not seen Groundhog Day. I still haven't. I still have not seen this movie. And I heard, like, really great things about it. I just haven't gotten around to this one. And, you know, it's like, this idea of the whole day sort of repeating itself was done many times after this, but certainly not as good as that movie. Grown Ups. Happy Madison films are usually pretty terrible, but this was one of the better ones, which the same cannot be said for a sequel. And yeah, I mean, adults being immature, you know, reliving their youth, it worked in this one. It just didn't work in the sequel or any of our other movies where they did. I mean, Pixels was fine. But Grudge. Now, this was a remake, an American version of a Japanese film called Ju-on the Grudge. And I still actually haven't seen either, but I do know that the director of a Japanese original movie actually directs the American version. So that's actually a really good idea to have the same director, because they know what they should put in the American version. And The Grudge 2, and yes, there is a Grudge 3. I just haven't seen it, and I don't think I'm going to be putting it in my collection either. Grumpy Old Men. Now, this was a really solid neighborly rivalry kind of movie, and it works. It works as a simple little film. I've seen this probably twice. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau have really great chemistry, and Anne Margaret's in here as well. It's an interesting little movie. And yes, I've heard there's a sequel, but I haven't seen it yet. The Guardian, I don't know what that is. Guess Who, I don't know what that is. But yeah. Alright, next up we have Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. One of Stanley Kramer's best movies, dealing with an interracial relationship and the reactions that the parents have over this proposed marriage. And this is a movie tackling race issues, but one that was very groundbreaking for the time, and it's still very relevant today. Where do you think the inspiration for Get Out came from? But this is a really solid film. Sidney Poitier, Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy in his final film. Very poignant, very interesting, very dealing with racial tolerance in a very honest and profound way. And not to mention the scene with Tracy at the end of the film. That was his last scene, and interesting trivia, Katharine Hepburn was his personal nurse for some time, and even during the making of the movie. And actually, she never saw this movie after it was completed because it was just too painful. But yeah, this is a Stanley Kramer's best right here. But Guns of Navarone. This is a World War II classic right here. Gregory Peck, David Niven, and Anthony Quinn, who are out to stop the Nazis from taking a hold of these cannons. And these cannons are capable of firing long distances. So if, say for example, there's like a British fleet, which the British were our allies during World War II, these cannons could hit them, even if they were like 20 miles away. This is a well done film by Alistair MacLean. Who also did Where Eagles Dare. Guys and Dolls. So this is the film version of a Broadway musical. Marlon Brando, Gene Simmons. Actually, Marlon Brando couldn't even sing a note prior to being in this movie. The only actress who was in the Broadway version that reprised her role for the movie was Vivian Blaine. But of course, this is a classic musical that, of course, would be performed many, many times over. And it's great.